Hello, book connectors. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Black Devil. Visitors, should you happen upon the channel, feel free to join us. We'd love to have you here. Hello there, beautiful book connectors. I hope everyone is doing well. I am your host, Black Devil. And heads up, this video is just to help shorten the video for the book that I am going to be talking about in the next one. I want to tell you the next video may be a bit lengthy. If you've been with me for some time, you may remember my videos usually would be a minimum of 45 minutes, and I think I have quite a few for an hour or a little better than an hour. I'm trying my best to work that down, trying to condense everything into about no more than 35 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes. I feel that's about all the time people can have to look at any one video like that. So, yeah, I just wanted to say, if that next video is long, that's why. It's because I have to tell the story. And I don't know necessarily when I'm going to be through talking. So, but before I tell you about the book, I am going to tell you some things about the author. The book is called The Umbrella Lady, written by D.C. Andrews. And I don't know about any of you, but I've read about 3 series that D.C. Andrews has written. And I've read quite a few of her standalones. Now, there are certain things or some things I have found to be consistent in every single one of the series and standalones that I've ever read. Now, I'm going to make this little game up, ask you, how do you know stuff like about the author or something? So, how do you know you're reading the D.C. Andrews book? Well, I know I'm reading the D.C. Andrews book if the story takes place in some remote or distant place. I don't care if it's a family of 4 or a family of 14. They're going to be the only inhabitants of that, be it compound, town, community. They never come in contact with anybody. Everything is always family. And I'll give my thoughts about that in a minute or so. Now, how do you know you're reading the D.C. Andrews book? Well, I know I'm reading the D.C. Andrews book when somebody always ends up getting her hair. It's not just cut off. It's chopped off. It's meant to be a punishment. I don't know, but it just seems like D.C. Andrews was obsessed with hair. Every book I've ever read, I'm telling you, there always is some remote place and somebody ends up getting their hair chopped off before the end of the book or the series. Now, the last one, how do you know you're reading a D.C. Andrews book? Well, I know I'm reading a D.C. Andrews book when incest and inappropriation with people takes place. And so that's why I said when they were living almost off the grid, it seems, that's probably why. Because, you don't want to run the risk of it getting out. And if nobody's there but family, your secret is safe as long as they don't get away or leave. The difference, though, between her and her incestuous stories these people seem to do it willingly. So it's not about anybody being forced against their will, or so it sounds like, most of them. I read a series of hers last year called The Runaways, and it was about, it was 6 books and all about teenage girls, and they were getting adopted and stuff. And every time a child was placed in a home, the people, they were well-to-do, they had money or whatever, but those kids get in their home and they ended up being touched, or it was always some sort of a domesticated issue with them, even at that. So, yeah, and I wonder, okay, like, let me just relist the 3 things I have noticed over the years. The remote setting, the hair being chopped off, and the incest that goes on there. Now, I wonder if, when you write, especially about deep and dark things like the incest, there's got to be a reason for you living purposely that way. And that's the only reason I could come up with, is to try to keep all that stuff in family or whatever. And I'm like, I don't want to believe that D.C. Andrews herself endured any one of these 3 things. I really don't. But if she did, if all of it is coming strictly from her, I wonder if she was like, this book sold whatever she considered an impressive number. And maybe, like, she may have gone back and tried to write one that these things didn't go on, and maybe it didn't do as well, sell as well for her. So I'm wondering if she uses all of these things in every one of the books I've ever read. Maybe it's not that any of that stuff happened to her. It may be strictly about the dollar. She found what worked for her, and that's what she kept doing. If you want to, for those of you who are, who like Tyler Perry, when he first came out back in the early 2000s, I was like everybody else. I was just loving Madea, and it just, okay. But I can tell you, I probably have not watched anything of Tyler Perry's in over 10 years plus. But I can tell you that people are starting to complain, and they talk about how his storylines basically never change. It's one of those same script, different cast or different day things. He'll, somebody's always being physically abused, and usually somebody's being sexually abused. And those are just running things in his books, and people are starting to get tired of it. And that's why I'm wondering. We know Tyler was doing it because Tyler did say, about 4 or 5 years ago, I heard him say he was trying to retire Madea. But she is the character that right now seems to always sell the most, the biggest. So you just usually tend to go with what works for you. But yes, V.C. Andrews has those, and if anybody has ever read more than one of her books, if you don't see what I'm just talking about the remote setting hair and the incest, please feel free to let me know. I would love to go read that book. And the reason I kept saying, how do you know you're reading a V.C. Andrews book, is because sometimes you may come across excerpts and you just read the excerpt and you don't stop and look at the author. You don't seem to notice the author until you finish, and if you really like it, then you're like, hey, well, who wrote this? If I don't see this lady's name, if this stuff comes up, I would be almost certain to bet you a penny that it's V.C. Andrews. I just read that many. Just like Mary Monroe, I read a lot of her books. Yeah, I know pretty much that. If that lady does not have cabbage and pork in all of her stories that I've ever read, let's not leave out the sweet potato pie. They're always listed in there. And then one of her put downs, like in the Mama Ruby book or in that whole series, every time Ruby get mad, she called people low down fucking black dogs. If I hear that sentence, I know I can come in the middle or the tail end of a conversation. But I can tell you're talking about me or Monroe. And Rashonda Tate Billingsley, to me, her stuff similar. She writes very similarly to Mary Monroe, because they both have some pretty funny stuff throughout their stories. But anyway, that's basically all I wanted to come on here and say. Just heads up. I'm done reading it, but I won't say when I'll get it up, but I will tell you my plan is to have it up by no later than Saturday. And I'll be ready to start on a new book come Sunday. So, yeah, just chit-chats, just telling you my thoughts. And hopefully I can get the story told within 30 to 35 minutes. And I probably could do it in 20 minutes if I, don't say what I'm thinking as, I guess what I'm trying to say is if I don't insert my commentary telling you what I thought about whatever, I probably could get it done in about 20 minutes. But anyway, I will go ahead and try to start editing the video and have it up for my favorite people in these YouTube streets, the book connectors, all day, every day. In the meantime, book connectors, please feel free to like, comment respectfully, and by all means subscribe. Those who are subscribed, thank you for being subscribed. And visitors, when we say feel free to join us, that's exactly what we mean. We love to have, I just love engagement. I look forward to the engagement I get from my videos. I love that. And then also, please make sure you have your notification bells turned on so you will be notified every time I post a video. Thank you once again for watching and listening, for all that you do. Now, in the meantime, book connectors, remember this. As long as there are books around, there is always something to read. And so until we read again, book connectors, be safe out there, and God bless.